righty. Good afternoon, everyone. Hello, and welcome to the American Family Insurance DreamBank, where we believe in the transformative power of dreams. My name is Andy Frisky. I'm a member of the DreamBank team. On behalf of the entire team, thank you so much for joining us here today. As we always like to do when we get started, we love to ask people where they are joining us from and encourage you to do so in the chat section if you are comfortable. And that brings me to my next point. Go ahead and use the chat as general discourse today for any sort of comments, questions, general comments as it pertains to the content that will be covered here today. A great way to connect with other fellow attendees. And then if you have any specific questions for Allison, we'll go ahead and address those. Please go ahead and use the Q&A function for that. But for those of you who maybe have joined us in the past, welcome back. For those of you who it's your first time, welcome. And I'd love to take a few moments here and introduce you to DreamBank. So here at American Family Insurance, we believe that communities are stronger and the future is brighter when people are actively pursuing their dreams. And that's why DreamBank was created. It's an inspirational community destination and virtual experience that's dedicated to dreamers everywhere. Our offerings are designed to help you celebrate the dream journey, to overcome obstacles, and to stay motivated. And today I'm really excited to welcome back to the DreamBank stage, Allison Michels, to chat about fractional leadership. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to Allison. Allison, take it away.
Thank you, Andy. I appreciate it. And I am just so excited to spend time with all of you today. Thank you for taking some time to have lunch with me if you're eating lunch. And I want to make this presentation all about you. So please ask questions as they come up in the chat, and Andy's going to help me with those. Today we're talking about fractional leadership, a new approach to scale your business. I want to start off with a quick case study, and I want you to pretend for a moment that you are the president of a company and you're sitting around the conference table and you are trying to figure out how you're going to grow your company this year. You sell widgets and you recognize as you're talking to your executive team that there is a gap in your marketing and you're trying to figure out what to do. So your budget would allow for a marketing specialist, somebody day to day, to come in and be full time in your company, or you could have somebody come in fractionally, part time, at a chief marketing officer role and really help you strategize a new marketing messaging and branding and strategy with your sales team. And so you have this opportunity, right? You have this opportunity to decide which way works best for your company and which way is going to help you get the results that you want in order to grow your revenue, grow your sales. And so in the chat, I'd love for you to answer, what would you do if you were running that company and you wanted to sell more widgets this year? What would you do? Would you hire the full-time person that you can have all the time, or would you have that fractional person or that part-time chief marketing officer to come in and strategize? Let's see. I'm going to give you a moment to answer. I really do want you to participate, my friends. So I appreciate that. Ooh, I can see people are answering. Thank you. Awesome. Wonderful. Well, obviously today, either answer is correct. If you're running a company, whatever you feel most comfortable with, I would say is the right answer. But because we're talking about fractional leadership, I would say the answer is to hire that part-time person. And today I'm going to kind of explain why I feel that way and how it might benefit your company. If you're hopping in here and you might want to be a fractional leader, I'll also describe what that looks like and my journey, and so that you can learn as well. In today's dynamic business landscape, companies face constant pressure to innovate, adapt, and achieve sustainable growth. And because we have access to more information than ever before in history, what I find when I'm talking to entrepreneurs or to business owners is they're inundated by so much information that it's hard to find clarity in what to do next, right? So we're inundated by emails and social media and just all of AI and all of these different techniques. And so oftentimes what happens is you're just bombarded by information. And I think today what we're going to talk about is how we can find experts that kind of will help you clarify, strategize, and really create that plan to move forward. And I think that's really the goal of fractional leadership, is to have somebody in there who's an expert in the field and can help you and your organization go to that next level. And that's really what I hope to provide when I am offering fractional work. So, hello everyone. I'm Allison. So great to meet you. I am a global leadership trainer, keynote speaker, and award-winning entrepreneur. I've been building businesses since right out of college. I absolutely love thinking about business, talking about business, strategizing. I am a fractional COO and CMO. It's so funny, and I'm going to share my story in a moment. But how I became one is not necessarily the path that I thought, but it's been such a rewarding role for me, and I really enjoy the work that I get to do and how I get to integrate within the organizations that I work with. It's been so cool. I have over 15 years experience helping companies and individuals succeed. So with the leadership development, I do a lot of personal growth, and I've spoken to DreamBank before regarding some of my books. I think that in order to be a great business leader, you really need to be able to continue to grow yourself personally. And that's why I'm really passionate about that. And I try to make that part of the work that I do. I've been mentored by leadership expert John Maxwell. He's super cool. If you haven't read his books, make sure you check him out. He's an amazing leader and has done transformational leadership all over the world. I use neuroscience and practical strategies to drive clarity, motivation, and results. And I'm really passionate about empowering others to exceed their potential. And today, especially if you're on here and you're wondering maybe what your next step is, or perhaps you're considering fractional leadership, either to hire somebody or to become one, I hope that I'm able to provide some answers for you and some clarity on, whether or not it's going to be a good choice for you. Either way, I hope that you take a moment to really think about your dreams, and that's really what this dream bank is about, and it's the foundation of it is to allow people space to dream. And so today, even if you have an hour to think a little bit bigger and think about what's possible in your life, I would encourage you to do that. And I'm really dedicated to making a meaningful impact, whether that is on a day-to-day basis or doing something like this where I can, talk into the lives of others. I really appreciate that, and I love doing that. So I get to share my story about fractional leadership. Fun fact, last year at this time, the role that I was in marketing, and it was eliminated almost to the day. You can't make that up. And so I found myself trying to figure out what was I going to do next, right? Like if you've ever experienced that where a job that you were in was eliminated, it's pretty stressful. And it was also very kind of exciting because I got to start a new chapter and I didn't exactly know what that meant. I knew what my strengths were. I'm strategic. I like to communicate, and I like to do things that people think are impossible. I like to make that possible. So I was like, okay, well, those are the things I love to do. How do I make that into something that people would buy from me? And I didn't know. And so I went on a journey and I started to get really curious and I started to talk to as many people as possible. And Andy is a friend of mine. I even reached out to him and talked to him and just kind of got his perspective on things and ideas. But I reached out to a whole bunch of people and I had conversations and I said, hey, if you were me, what would you do? And I remember one week really trying to consider what my next move should be. I reached out to I think 14 different people, and all of them said, Allison, relaunch your company. And I said, awesome. But what does that mean? And what could that look like? What am I going to offer people? And I had one friend, Brian, who I'll introduce in a moment. But Brian and I were accountability partners. And Brian is just such a kind, loving, encouraging person. And I really like Brian. He's super cool. And he said, Allison, why don't you come work with me? And I said, okay, not knowing exactly what I was going to be doing or what that would look like. And he said, you could be my COO. You could run my personal brand. You know what I do and all of those different things. And I'm going to actually share his whole kind of like what I do for him and what that looks like. But that was the first time I had considered myself being a fractional leader. I didn't know exactly how to structure it. I didn't know exactly, how that would work for me, in my work. I didn't know where I was going to start. So I didn't know a lot of things is what I'm telling you. So if you're watching this and you're thinking, oh, Allison has it all figured out. I didn't know exactly 1 year ago at this time. I didn't know, but I will share with you what I've learned over the year because, with just like anything, what happens oftentimes is we start off not knowing, and through the process of not knowing, we figure out what we're doing. And I think that's the thing, that's the journey that I've been on this year is really recognizing, okay, I don't exactly know what this looks like. And everybody does it a little bit differently. How do I make it unique to me and how do I make it fit what I want to do and how I want to serve my clients in a really great way? And so we're going to talk through that. I'll share with you some of the strategies I use. And then even at the end of our presentation today, I'm going to share with you my tech stack for business. I wish I would have known that when I started my first business. I never, I never had anybody telling me what to do or how to figure it out. And I just kind of fumble my way through it and figure it out. And somehow it works. And so if you are in that space of trying to figure out how to grow your business, or perhaps you're a leader of a company and you feel that, give me a high five because that's kind of how we figure it out, right? Is just through taking imperfect action and moving forward. All right. So I want to introduce you to my first client, my first fractional COO client, Brian Bardis. He is a wonderful leader, success coach, amazing, amazing person, inside and out. And I came on to Brian's team. And I literally integrated myself into his team. I said, "Hey, Brian, I want an email. I want to meet all the people you work with. I want to audit everything that you do." So I took a deep dive for probably the first month and a half, 2 months. I read his books. I looked through all of his blogs. I listened to his podcast. Brian has a personal brand, and it's about excellence. It's his philosophy on life, which is life excellence. It's how do we create the habits in our lives in order to reach excellence, whether it's in our health or our finances or in our relationships. Like, what are those things that we can do? And what he does on his podcast is he interviews people who have reached levels of excellence in their life. Super cool. If you haven't already checked it out, check it out, put it on your list. And so I had this opportunity for about a month and a half, like I said, to just really audit who is Brian? What does he do? What does this thing called life excellence mean? And I started to just ask a whole bunch of questions. I started to just literally make questions about what is this? Who does it help? How does it help them? Where am I seeing opportunities for growth? Where are there gaps perhaps in what he's doing? If we were going to dream really big, what would that look like? It was just like all of the things. And I started to just really dig into his company and have great conversations with him, have great conversations with people he had already worked with and was working with on his production side, on his social media side, and all of those different things. And then Brian and I sat down after I did an audit and we did a whole planning session. And it was super cool because we just spent time talking about Brian. We talked about him personally and professionally. We talked about why he started this and where that kind of came from and where that passion for excellence came from, why he started writing books, who he hopes it helps, and how he hopes it helps them. And, in an ideal world, what would be the things that or the challenges or problems that we could solve for him that would make his life easier. And so it was a huge conversation. It happened multiple times. We did multiple sessions. We even met in person and just kind of went through all of these different pieces of his business, of things he was super passionate about. I had him do some homework on really what were his goals for his company. Where did he see it going? If he had had goals in the past, why wasn't he reaching them? And really, we evaluated all of it and we said, okay, here's all of the things I call it a brain dump. So essentially, it's taking and unloading all of the ideas you may have regarding your business and kind of clarifying, okay, what are the things that are most important? What are the things that are going to move the needle the best? Oftentimes what I find, and especially in this process with Brian, is that sometimes when we're looking at a business, especially as an outsider looking in, I see it with different fresh eyes, right? When you're inside of a company, you have already these preconceived ideas, these notions of how it should be, what you've always done. There's just things that you do. But when you're an outsider looking in, you have a whole different perspective. And we had a lot of conversations regarding that. And really, I really wanted to understand him, his vision, and where he wanted it to go. And then, given all of that information, we were able to create a comprehensive strategic plan, action plans, monthly plans, and then we use that to implement and really decide, okay, who do we need on our team? What does this look like? What do we need to stop doing in order to amplify our growth? And it's been amazing. It's been really an awesome process. I share all of that because I wanted to give you kind of like the um, an idea of what a fractional leader could mean in your company. They essentially come in and they act as if they are part of your team. And that's what I do. I really think about myself as part of Brian's team. I want him to succeed. If he succeeds, then I feel like I'm doing my job and I'm succeeding as well. And so I think that's a cool thing about fractional leadership versus a consultant. A consultant might come in, do some work for a little bit, give you a report, and then leave. As a fractional leader and a fractional COO for Brian, I found so much satisfaction in seeing where we go with it. And I'm with him so much more than I would if I would be a consultant. We talk at least once a week, if not more, depending on what projects we're working on. We're communicating through email and calling and Zooming and doing different things. And he knows that I have his back and he has mine. And so that's a really cool thing. And so we're able to work together to really achieve his goals and get him to that next level. So when you're thinking about fractional leadership, you can kind of think of hiring somebody who's really wanting you to win and wants you to succeed. I love this quote. So Richard Branson says, business opportunities are like buses. There's always another one coming, right? And so just like fractional leadership, like there's always different opportunities to grow your business. Like I said, there's so much noise out there. What can you do in order to really focus your energy, prioritize, and implement and execute what it is that you need to do? And I think that's the thing that I have found in my role as a fractional leader. Especially I do fractional COO and I do fractional CMO work. And what I find is oftentimes the companies that hire me, their leaders, whether it's the CEO or president of the company, typically comes to me and says, Allison, I have this challenge. And it's because they have so many different opportunities coming to them, but they don't exactly know how to prioritize which ones to take action on. What are the ones that are going to move the needle forward? And we have some conversations and some clarifying conversations in order to create the plan on what will work. And then one of the things that I also do is help people be accountable, right? Companies need to be accountable, people need to be accountable. And I have kind of a unique background. I'm a cognitive coach. So I like to create structures to help us, and kind of help ourselves stay motivated and move forward with intention. Because anytime that you're trying to grow, whether that's a company or yourself, you're going to be met with resistance. And that's one of the things that I think people forget oftentimes is like at first you're going to think it's a bad idea. And then if you really think about it, is it a bad idea or is it going to be the next step to growth? And if it's the next step to growth and you just feel uncomfortable with it, that's where you really need to step into it. You need to lean into the uncomfortableness and you need to move forward with intention. So here's how I think about any company that I come in, I work with. I think about their vision. Like, what are their crazy huge goals or dreams for that company or for that organization? What are the things that just excite and inspire them? And why are they doing what they're doing? Leaders, my dear friends, if you are listening to this and you are a leader of a company or organization, and if you are not taking time to create vision for your company, you're missing out. Take some time by yourself, schedule it, and literally take a notebook and dream of what's possible. Like if it all went bigger than you could have ever imagined, what would that look like for you? What would that look like for your company? How could you impact people on a bigger scale if you took the time and energy to cast that vision? What I find too often is that we set our expectations too low. Like, what if it's the most amazing thing possible? Dream that up, create that vision. And then what happens is you hire somebody like Allison, right? A fractional COO or CMO, somebody who has experience thinking about strategy, and you come up with goals, you come up with a plan, you put some structure around that vision. I like to think about, I like to reverse engineer success. I'm a hashtag nerd. I don't tell many people that, but I am. And what that looks like is really understanding, okay, where is it that you want to go in a year, 5 years, 10 years? Now, understanding where that company wants to go. And it's not just, I mean, revenue goals are great, but really, I would say think about your impact. Think about, like, okay, if we created this company that was able to impact people and help them get healthier or whatever that might be, like, imagine what that could do. Or we're going to help more kids learn how to read, or we're going to help people get the medicine that they need, or we're going to help build the most beautiful houses so families have a place to have great memories, right? Think about that vision in your company. What is that thing that people want to strive for? They come to work, they do the, they come to work every single day, and they're really trying to figure out, why are they there? That vision is what's going to keep them there. Strategy are the goals. It's the tactile things that you need to do on a regular basis in order to get closer to that vision. So what I typically do is I would say, okay, your vision is to create this personal brand, and you want to help high achieving leaders, get to that next level in their life and achieve excellence. What is the strategy around that? What are the main priorities? Well, obviously, given Brian's example, he needs to produce a high level podcast and he needs to interview amazing guests. That's one of his top priorities. And in order to do that, we need to have some structure around, what does that look like? How are we going to find those guests? How are we going to procure those guests? What does that system look like? Who do we need to partner with maybe in order to get in front of the right guests, or who do we need to ask, right? So that's the strategy. And then execution is doing it. It's like, okay, we recognize what the actions are that we need to take. Now we need to start doing it. And I think that's one of the things that, a lot of people need to recognize, is sometimes you just have to start doing it. You might not have all the answers, but by starting, you're going to figure it out. So, what are fractional C suite executives? This is the formal description of them. Fractional C suite executives are experienced senior level leaders who provide their expertise on a part time or project based basis. They offer flexible and cost effective alternative to traditional full time hires. So, some examples include, you could have a fractional chief financial officer, a fractional chief marketing officer, a fractional COO or a chief operating officer, fractional CTO, which is a technology officer. You could have a fractional sales officer, right? And oftentimes, what I find is the CEO or president of a company, they have an executive team and they may have a gap in that team. And they might not want to necessarily hire a full time chief marketing officer to come in all the time, but they know it's a need and they want somebody at that high level to be able to offer experience and their expertise in order to create the strategy. Just like what I told you before, that vision, strategy, and execution. What I find when I'm talking to other fractional CFOs or CMOs or COOs is oftentimes they've worked in many different industries for many years and they have this wealth of knowledge, and they're able to kind of connect dots that maybe somebody who is less experienced wouldn't be able to do. And so, what you want to do is you want to find somebody who has the ability to kind of look at where you're at and say, oh, okay, I would say do this, this, and this, and that'll help you grow, and work with your team to kind of identify where those gaps are and what action you need to take in order to move forward. So some benefits of fractional C-suite work is it saves money, obviously. So you have a lower cost compared to a full-time hire. You don't have to pay the full-time salary, benefits, etc. But with that, you're not going to have as much time with that person, right? And so how I structure it is I give a portion of consulting hours to my clients, or time with my team per month. And then that's a recurring revenue model, and they pay me for a certain amount of time that I can work with them or with my team. And we implement a plan that we came up with. And so on a monthly basis, there's different metrics that we measure of things that need to be accomplished. And on a weekly basis, I give my clients, okay, here's what we're going to be working on. Here's what's accomplished. And then we schedule a meeting to kind of talk through it if there's any questions. And obviously, we have communication throughout that if there's anything else that needs to happen. But that's kind of how it works for me. You can access top talent. So you get experienced leaders who might not be available full time, but they're excited and ready to add value to your company. And like I said, oftentimes fractional leaders are super excited because now they get to share their talent with multiple companies and really add value to them. And for me, what I find is that uh, because I've been doing what I've been doing for so long, I'm able to see things that maybe somebody less experienced wouldn't see because they just haven't worked in industry as much or worked in as many industries. And so you're able to access these people that really are experienced and help you go further faster just because they know what they're doing. They help you stay flexible. So one of the things I found, and if you're considering a fractional C-suite executive to either hire them or to be one, is in the beginning, you might not know exactly how many hours you're going to be spending with a certain client or company. And I typically give them a range of what I think it might be. And then we agree to have a conversation in like 3 months to really discuss, okay, this is really what it is. Because without having full access to a company, you don't know where they're at. You don't know what help they might need. You don't know what systems and processes are built or not built. You don't know how that working relationship is going to be. So being flexible allows you to start off on the right foot. Like I said, I typically start off with an audit, which helps educate me on, okay, here's where this company is, here's what they're doing in this area, here's what they might need, or we need to change or update, and here's what we need to stop doing or get rid of, because that's a real thing too, is oftentimes we're doing too much. And I hear myself a lot of times telling clients, like, let's just focus on the thing that's most important right now. What's the thing that's most important? And let's move that as far as we can. And that's really going to give us the most results. And you can scale it easily. So you can grow or shrink your leadership team as your business grows. I'm going to talk about startups in a moment, but that's a really prime example of like being able to utilize fractional leaders in order to grow or scale your company. One question I keep getting, and I actually had a friend from the Netherlands reach out and ask me about fractional leadership, and I invited her to the session. So if you're here, my friend, hello, say hi in the chat. But one of the questions I get often is, could I be a fractional C-suite executive? And I believe anybody can do anything, but I want to give you some guidance and some experience I believe would be super helpful if you are considering it, or if you're a leader of an organization and you want to hire somebody who's a fractional leader, make sure that they have all of these skills, right? Because if they don't, they might not be able to add as much value as they could if they did. So, one of the things I think is really important is strategic leadership. Have you driven business growth through high level strategy? Have you created strategic plans? Have you worked with teams? Have you created metrics to measure, um, or not? And if you haven't, what you're going to want to do is get that experience. You can get that experience through taking a course, through getting a master's degree, through serving on a board, something. But you need to have that in order to really help amplify the executive leadership team. Decision making. Can you make high stakes decisions and influence key leaders? Again, when you're operating in a fractional leadership position, you're helping lead a company. And that's big stuff. I mean, that matters. And that's a really, it can be, big decisions are made at the top of the company, and you want to be able to communicate effectively, to make great decisions, and to influence key stakeholders. And if you haven't ever done that before, again, you need that experience, because you're going to recognize that how executive leaders really operate is important, and recognizing how that all works and that process is important before you'd start in as a fractional leader. Again, financial and operational oversight. Have you managed budgets? Have you looked at operations at scale? Have you done that? If you haven't, get that experience before you would say that you're a fractional leader. And then team and culture leadership. Can you build and inspire high performing teams? Recognizing that when you're at a C-suite level, oftentimes you are leading other people in order to do the work that needs to be accomplished. And so you need to have that mindset. And not that you're not going to be doing work, obviously you will be, but at that level, you really want to have that understanding of, how do I lead other people? If I need to work through other people in order to get this done, how is that going to work? If you haven't ever done that before, don't try it out. In fractional leadership, try it out by volunteering on a nonprofit board. Try it out by finding some space where you can start to lead others, because that'll give you the skill set that you need in order to be super effective. Because as you're creating this cool strategy, and as you're making decisions, and as you're leading this, you want to show up and you want to just blow the socks off those people. And when you have these four things, that you have the strategic leadership, you have decision making, you're able to understand financials and operational oversight, and you have that leadership skill, you'll be able to show up in a different level and a different experience level than anybody else. I would also say, if you haven't done those things, don't just update your LinkedIn profile with fractional C-suite, because what will happen is you'll go into the interview process and they'll see it pretty quickly that you haven't had that, and that, you don't want that to happen. Startups. Why are startups embracing fractional leadership? So this is a really great opportunity for fractional leaders. And I think that this is cool because it could help really scale a startup quickly. So for financial health, think about a startup. They've got this amazing idea, and now they need to raise money for that idea. A fractional CFO who's already done capital raises or managed runways and can forecast their business growth is going to be vital to your success. They're going to be able to walk you step by step through the process. Even if you don't have that experience, they could bring you places that you never knew, and they have a network of people that you could tap into. So that's why you want to think about a fractional CFO if you're a startup. Brand growth. They help in creating impactful go-to-market strategies and attract leads and prospective clients. Oftentimes, fractional CMOs have worked in marketing and know how to build marketing and sales funnels that will help drive traffic to your product or to your company, and it's just a whole different level, and create a really premium brand. That's one of the things that I love to do, is create like a high level premium brand, and that's typically who I work with, which I really love. Whereas if you hire somebody that maybe doesn't have premium brand experience, they're not going to be able to up level where you're at in the market. And then operational excellence. In order to grow or scale your company, you need to streamline your processes and operations to increase efficiency. Like, it has to happen. You can't have chaos in your company and think that you're going to be able to grow to that next level. So if you're a startup and you're considering, okay, what do I do first, Allison? What I would do is I would sit down and say, okay, if I looked at my plan, what is the first thing or the biggest priority for me right now that's going to get my company to that next level in the next 6 months? And if it's, okay, we haven't raised money yet, then perhaps it's getting that fractional CFO. But if you have a product idea and you have poor marketing, like say the packaging is bad, or you don't have a great website, you might need to do the fractional CMO first. It's just all of these different things kind of go together. So this is what it looks like when we're thinking about startups: innovation, growth, sustainability. So innovation is that idea. It's that first, like everybody's excited about it. There's some cool things happening. Oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. And then after you get your fractional leadership team on board and you are all going in the right direction, now you're ready, you're set up for growth, right? You have a team set up, you have, excuse me, um, you're able to really grow that company to that next level, start hiring employees and move to that next level, which will lead to sustainability and allowing you to really grow that business and move forward. So how do you find a fractional leader? That's a great question. So first, I'd love for you to write down a list of the things that you need. Do you need marketing help? Do you need financial help? If you need marketing help, do you need somebody who understands product marketing or service marketing? If you need financial help, do you need somebody who understands kind of like uh, just regular basic accounting, or do you need somebody who's going to help you do a capital raise? Really get clear on what it is you need prior to looking for that person, because what that will do is it'll set you up for the questions to ask. Like, oh, I need somebody who's going to help me create systems and processes in my business, because right now it's going every which way, right? It's just chaos. So when you're looking for your fractional COO who will help you with your operations and understanding that, you want to know that somebody like has experience in building operations, experience in systems and processes. Find great candidates. So there's different options for this. You could definitely reach out to a recruiter. You can go on LinkedIn. You could post for it. You could do a fractional leadership position and post for it on like Indeed. And what I would say is when you're looking for the person, be very clear. It's just like another position or role in your company. And I would take it with that type of understanding, is that you really want to get that right person in there, because you don't want to keep doing this. You want to have somebody who's going to be integrated into your team, even if it's on a part-time basis, but they're going to be with you for a long time. And you want to make sure it's the right candidate. You want to interview them. Make sure you ask questions. I gave you the questions to really think about, like that strategic leadership. Like, give me an example of a time that you had to create a strategic plan regarding marketing and share what the results were. What did that look like? And walk me through the process. Those types of things will help you really understand if the candidate knows what they're talking about. If they haven't done it or don't have specific examples of doing that, then perhaps, they might not be as much of a help as you want them to be. Check them out. Interview candidates. One thing that I like to do is if I have a prospect that I'm talking to, a company that might want to hire me for fractional leadership work, I'll have different people that I worked with talk to them. I'll say, hey, reach out to Brian, ask him how his experience has been. He'll be honest with you. And I ask them to be honest. If they like something or don't like something, we build a relationship and we want to be able to really add value to each other. So understanding that, and then ask if they have somebody that you could talk to, references or those types of things. And I would say the references need to be people that they've worked with in the past in fractional leadership. And then build a strong partnership, communicate clearly, and work together effectively. As soon as you make the decision, like that, integrate that person into your team, let them feel included and excited, and involve them in decision making, and do all of the things that you would typically with a new employee. Make them feel a part of what that vision that you've created. And what will happen is it will, anybody who feels valued and appreciated will do more than what they would if they didn't. And so if you treat that person with that type of kindness and respect, they will definitely give you more than you could have ever imagined. And it will be a success for both of you. It'll be a win-win. So I wanted to also kind of share with you, we have a little bit of time left. We have some some business resources. So this is another thing that I think is really important, and something that I wish I would have known when I started my company is, okay, you're starting this new company, you're trying to figure it all out, you're doing all this research. Again, there's so many different ways to go. These are just some of the things that I found helpful, and I think that Andy's actually going to put this in the comments for you. So there's a link to this and you can click on it. And what I'll kind of explain what each one of these are and how you might want to use them. So, HoneyBook is a CRM. CRM is like a client management system. And in there, I'm able to put in any prospects. So, for example, Andy reached out to me from DreamBank asking me to speak. And so I would put his name, his contact information in there, and I would put a note saying he'd like me to speak in February, right? Then I would go in there and I could create a proposal, and they've got templates already created for you. I could put that speaking proposal together and I say, hey, Andy, here's my speaking proposal. Here's what I think I should talk about. Here's the description. See what you think, right? And then that emails him directly, and he's able to kind of look through that. And then eventually, if he says yes, then I could send a contract over, and he could e-sign that, and I could e-sign it. And so it keeps all of those documents right in that space, and it helps me with project management as well. So say I have a speaking engagement, and there's different steps, right? I want to send the proposal. I need to send the contract. I need to make sure that I have all of the materials for my speaking engagement, or I need to make sure I send out an invoice. All of that can be automated and systematized within HoneyBook, which just helps me. If you haven't already noticed, I have high energy, and I go a lot of different directions. So anytime that I can create systems and processes in my business where I don't have to think about it, I just do it. It really helps me move forward faster. And so I would say HoneyBook is definitely something that I would highly recommend. And it's not super expensive. It's awesome. Kajabi. So another thing that you might want to think about is course creation, memberships, digital products. And that's not necessarily for fractional leadership, but it could be, because you might be utilizing that with your clients. I'm creating some digital products for my clients, utilizing their content. And so Kajabi, obviously you do a digital course in there, you can create memberships. It's a really cool, comprehensive program. And I did research a bunch of these to see which one was going to be easiest to work with for my own courses. And after doing a lot of research, I came back to Kajabi. I used to use Kajabi, and just kind of going through some of the challenges in other places, I thought Kajabi worked really well. Website building. So GoLive.co is a website building platform. I'm actually doing a whole update of my current website utilizing GoLive.co, and I love it. If you can go check it out, see if it works for you. QuickBooks is where I do all of my accounting, billing, expense tracking, invoices. All of that is done there. Super easy. And then Canva. I do graphic design and branding. I designed this presentation in Canva. So if you're kind of trying to figure out where to start and you want to easily get going, just figure out what are the things that you need, and then you can utilize some of these to kind of get yourself organized. And that's one of the things I think we don't often talk about, is like, you're going to launch a business and you're so excited about it. What I would do first is really think about, okay, what systems and processes do I need in order to make my business efficient and effective? Things like QuickBooks, like I can email an invoice and that'll take me like a minute to do. Like that is awesome, right? Or I can use HoneyBook and I can send over a proposal. I just have to update a couple different areas in it, and it automatically updates, and then I send it over and it tracks it, and all of the things are done for me. So anything that you can do in order to simplify your business is going to help amplify your growth. And so that's one of the things that I would definitely recommend if you are going to grow to that next level in 2025. You're super excited about doing that. Make sure you take the time and energy to think through that. And then I just thank you so much for listening. I have my email sign up. So if you want to do the QR code here, you can definitely get on my email list. I send out a weekly email. I'm also on LinkedIn and I shared my website and my email. If you have any questions, concerns, ideas, thoughts, dreams, whatever it is, feel free to reach out to me. I love talking to new people. I love meeting them, brainstorming with them, thinking through business ideas. Or if you are an owner of a company and you're like, hey, Allison, I have this challenge and I don't exactly know what to do. Could you talk through it with me? Like, super happy to do that. I love having those conversations and I really love adding value to people. So I want to make sure that I can do that as much as possible, especially with DreamBank. All of you are such wonderful people. So hope you enjoyed it today. And I have a little bit of time for questions. Andy, I don't know if you can unmute or have.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
hi.
so we'll go ahead and populate those questions in the Q&A section, and I'll be sure to relay them to Allison. Have a couple questions to get started here, though, as people are typing away. So obviously, you've had some experience both in the fractional leadership space and outside of that. And then in your own experience and in chatting with some other folks who operate in that space, what are you talked about kind of like skill sets and whatnot that are kind of needed or required for this role, but I'm wondering what sort of like are there underlying key qualities of an individual that you find to be recurring with people who are operating in the fractional space?
Yeah, and I think that that's an awesome question. So, it depends on the type of person. So that let me go back. So, I would say that they need to be go-getters. They need to be ambitious. Oftentimes anybody who's starting a business or wants to be, kind of doing what I do or what an entrepreneur, you have to have passion for what you're doing and why you're doing it. And I think that's one of the things that will help you get through the hard days or the hard, the challenges, because inevitably it's not super easy. It's, there's a lot of different conversations you need to have. You need to keep moving forward. So I would say passion, ambition, tenacity, and I would say the ability to help bring clarity to the people that you're working with. So no matter what, if you're a fractional CFO or you want to come in and you want to provide a solution to them. And so being a problem solver and wanting to help is or a helper is a really good quality, because I think people need that and want that.
I love it. That totally makes sense. Aligning the work with your own passions and not just having it being, checking another box or a means to another paycheck. I think that makes a lot of sense. As I was listening to your presentation, the building I work within, there's a lot of startups in the space. So I can certainly see the connection there. I was wondering if what industries have you noticed that maybe have had the most success with fractional leadership positions?
And as I'm talking to my other friends who are in fractional leadership, I have friends who do work in manufacturing. There's people that do, um, you know, if the financial industry, marketing, it's all over the board. I don't think that there's one industry specifically. Obviously, startups is a really great, easy way or easy place to start, but I think anybody could benefit if you have a gap in your executive team. And even when I was working in industry, I saw that there was a gap in the executive team, and they recognized it. Filling somebody in that chief marketing officer role could really mean the difference between where you are and where you want to go, or if it's
Mhm.
a CFO. So I think any company could really benefit from it. Obviously, if it's too small and can't afford to do that, then don't do it. But you need to have the budget to be able to afford that person. But I think it really could add tons of value and amplify your growth faster than you would had you done something else.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense. I know we've got a question here from the audience. I've got one more before we jump to audience questions, though. With you, obviously, again, going back to your experience, both kind of inside the fractional space and outside of it with your previous existence, how do you see the fractional leadership model evolving within the next 5 to 10 years?
I think that this is what I see in companies is And I'm working with a business coach who has built tons of like tech companies. And
Hmm.
with AI and with how technology is going, I see more people operating in a space like this and having possibly multiple places where they are adding value and utilizing their skill set in order to grow other companies too, and maybe
Hmm.
having their own company. I just see it as such a value add. And I think even with like the rise in technology and systems and processes to grow and scale companies, you're going to need really smart, intelligent people that are going to help guide you to that growth and amplify it. And if you can become that person and position yourself as that person that's going to come into a company and really recognize what needs to happen in order to provide or scale that company, it's going to be amazing. So I say, I think it's going to grow for the right people, the people that have that mindset of like they're continually growing and learning about what's new, and they can add tons of value to the companies that they serve.
Awesome. Next question is from Ivan here. So, hi, Allison. Thanks so much for the presentation. Very happy to attend. What advice do you have for top of funnel activities to generate enough leads for fractional professionals?
Good question. That's awesome. So first, I would say your top of funnel is really, and actually, I would be really, really strategic. So what I would do is I would write down with a pen and paper, like the top 20 or 30 people that either you know or you would like to know. It could be people that you've never talked to before, but they really inspire you. You think you could add value to their company, and I'd reach out to them. I'd figure out what their email is. I'd go on LinkedIn. I'd connect with them. I'd say, "Hey, so impressed by the work that you do. I would be genuinely kind and open and say, I'd love to have 10 minutes of your time and have a conversation." That's what I would do if I was like starting over and I wanted to really amplify my growth. Those are the things I would do. I also free cheap things are, post on social media. I think that's such an easy thing that can really amplify your growth and let people know what you do, why you do it, who you are. Whenever I'm thinking about marketing, I'm thinking about I want people to know, like, and trust me. So I'm kind of quirky and silly, and I want people that like that, right? I want to work with companies that appreciate that. And so I myself on my social media, I don't try to put on a different mask or something. So be yourself, be genuinely kind, and start posting on social media. Start reaching out to people that you admire, and get yourself in that momentum, right? Start doing the things. And eventually, what will happen is you don't need tons of fractional clients in order to make this work, So I think that's a cool thing. I hope that answers
Yeah,
your
I
question.
think that last statement right there does provide a lot of. I feel that for me, as someone who's also consuming this content, this event that you're
Yeah.
putting out too, and that you really don't need a ton of clients in order to make a living or to be successful at this.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. And that's a cool thing is you don't want to like bombard yourself with tons of clients because in the way that I'm thinking about fractional work and people do it differently. I've talked to somebody who literally, she comes in for, 3 hours and then that's it. And she has a team that runs everything and that's okay too. The way that I really see how I work and how I want to operate, I want to add as much value as possible, which means I do, I have team members and I have people that can help me, but I also want to be available and I want to be creating that structure and strategy in order to drive the growth.
I love it. I love it. We got another question here from an attendee. So I'm considering offering fractional user experience services to businesses who have sales and marketing, SEO, and development covered, but don't have user experience research and strategy. Have you run into a fractional user experience?
I've not experienced that. Um, and what I would do if I was really thinking about that, like you want to keep it specific, but you don't want to keep it so specific that you kind of push yourself out of the market. So if I was you, what I would do is I would think about, okay, what are the top 10 companies that I think I'd be really positioned at? And I would have a conversation with somebody in that organization and say, hey, I'm thinking about this and here's what I think, it would look like. And have a conversation and see if it's viable. Because if it's not viable, what you might want to do is you might want to make it a broader bucket and then put and then position it that way and sell it that way, even if you ultimately do what you're saying. Does that make sense? So just put it in a different package, and see. I would first use I would do some user experience. I would go out there and I would ask people that are in the market that you might want to serve, ask them what they think, ask them if it's a good idea, ask them what other things they might be challenged with, and then I would create the package around exactly what they are asking for. And then if you end up doing that, awesome. And maybe it's exactly called that, but I would say you might want a little bit broader bucket.
Awesome. That makes sense. Thank you for that. And we're getting close to the end of the event here. So if you do have any more questions for Allison, please be sure to pass those along in the Q&A section of this event here. Allison, here at DreamBank, we're a community that is built up of fellow fearless dreamers, and we always like to ask our presenters, what's one piece of advice you have for someone who's actively pursuing a dream right now?
Oh, oh my goodness gracious. I would say I dream like bigger than you ever thought possible. Literally, I'm and I because I have this. I didn't know I was gonna get asked this, but I have my dream journal right here. I am I'm constantly dreaming. I'm constantly thinking about my dreams. I'm constantly talking about my dreams. I have a huge vision board. I think the cool thing about dreaming is that it creates things in your future that you never thought possible, but if you never would have cast the dream, it would have never really happened. So even writing it down, even if it seems that like the most crazy thing, like maybe you listen to me and and you're like, I think I want to start a business, or I think I want to do this thing or write a book or whatever it is, write it down and just let it be and see what happens, because I think that's the cool thing about dreams is if it was meant to be, it'll come up again and then again and then again, right? Just like my fractional work. I never would have thought, hey, Allison, next year at this time, you're going to be speaking at DreamBank about fractional leadership. Didn't even know that was going to be a thing that I did, but here I am, and I love it. And I'm so grateful for it. But that's how dreams work: is they will create, they will start. They start with a little tiny idea, and then you'll start to get more and more clues to what it's supposed to be.
I love it. I love it. Big fan of the manifestation, sharing it, writing it down. So I
Mhm.
love that piece of advice. Allison, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to share a little bit about fractional leadership and the space here with our community today. Thank you all for taking time out of your day here to join us here. One last housekeeping item. You should be receiving a short survey in your inbox right around 1 p.m. Would really appreciate it if you take just a couple moments, takes about 2 or 3 minutes just to fill that out. That really helps us kind of determine and dictate what the type of content that we put out, such as the event today. So would really appreciate you all to take an eye, or keep an eye out for that and fill that out briefly. Also keep an eye out in your inbox. As I mentioned earlier in the chat section, we do record many of our events and share a lot of them as well. So keep an eye out for that as well. But with that being said, Allison, thank you so much for this. Such a
Thanks,
wonderful
everybody. Yeah,
presentation.
thank you, Andy.
And we will go ahead and cap it there and see you all next time. Take care.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Bye.